In the year 117, you are never more than 3 feet away from a potential disaster. Your home is likely a 5-story tinderbox built on a foundation of rotting wood. Every night, you go to sleep listening for the sound of cracking timber. This is the most dangerous city in human history. 1 million people are packed into a space smaller than a modern airport. You are standing at the absolute peak of Roman power, but the ground is literally groaning beneath you. By the end of this journey, you will see why this miracle of engineering was a death trap. The white marble you see in modern ruins is a ghost. In 117, Rome is a screaming riot of color and noise. You are standing in the Forum, the brain of an empire that spans 3 continents. The air smells of hot asphalt, expensive spices, and unwashed bodies. Your first instinct is to marvel at the gold leaf on the temple roofs, but you notice something wrong with the geometry of the streets. The grand monuments are islands in a rising sea of filth and desperation. You see a man in a sweat-stained tunic leaning against a red-painted column. He is a clerk for the city grain supply, and he hasn't slept in 2 days. He is staring at the horizon, waiting for a messenger who hasn't arrived. If the ships from Egypt are late by even 48 hours, the city will begin to starve. He knows that a hungry Rome is a city that burns its palaces. You realize that the stability of the world rests on a favorable wind in the Mediterranean. Before you take another step, look at the pavement beneath your sandals. The stones are slick with a mixture of fountain water and animal waste. There is no such thing as a clean street in the capital of the world. You are surrounded by the wealth of nations, but you are walking through a sewer. This contrast is the defining characteristic of the Roman experience. You would notice that the richer the temple, the more guards are needed to protect its doors. What you're standing in right now is a city that has outgrown its own physics. The buildings in the valleys are made of stone, but the hills are covered in wood. These are the insulae, the high-rise apartments of the Roman poor. They are built so high and so fast that the mortar often fails to dry. You hear a low rumble from the direction of the Viminal Hill. It is not thunder, and it is not a cart. A 5-story building has simply folded in on itself, burying 40 families in their sleep. Your first instinct would be to run toward the sound to help. You would be the only one moving in that direction. The locals don't even turn their heads at the sound of the collapse anymore. They have learned that in Rome, survival is a matter of looking the other way. You see a woman carrying a ceramic jar of water past the wreckage. She doesn't stop to look for survivors or offer a prayer. She is focused on the 80 steps she must climb to reach her own cramped room. The decision in front of you is whether to follow the water. Rome's most impressive feat isn't its legions, but its plumbing. 11 aqueducts pour a constant river of fresh water into the city. You see it gushing from a public fountain carved into the shape of a lion's head. The sound is constant, a white noise that masks the screams of the marketplace. This water is the only reason 1 million people can live in such close quarters. But you don't know this yet. The water is a tool of social division. It flows freely to the ground floors of the wealthy and the public baths. If you live on the 4th floor, you are a ghost to the water system. You must carry every liter of water you need up a ladder-like staircase. This constant labor defines the musculature and the fatigue of the Roman working class. You see it in the woman's trembling hands as she sets her jar down. Standing here, you understand the second most surprising fact about the city. Rome is a machine that processes people into dust to keep the gears turning. The life expectancy for the person standing next to you is less than 25 years. If you survive childhood, the heat and the humidity of the valleys will likely kill you. The city is so lethal that it requires a constant influx of 50,000 immigrants a year. They come for the promise of the capital and stay for the certainty of the grave. You walk toward the Subura, the district that the poets call the heart of the city. The streets here are so narrow that the sun never hits the ground. The balconies above you are cluttered with laundry and potted plants. You notice a bucket of human waste sitting on a window ledge 3 stories up. Your first instinct should be to move to the center of the alley. In Rome, the law allows people to dump their trash directly into the street. The third most surprising fact is the silence of the Roman law in these neighborhoods. The Praetorian Guard stays in their barracks, and the magistrates stay in the forum. The Subura is governed by local gangs and the landlords who own the blocks. If your neighbor robs you, there is no one to call for help. You realize that the Pax Romana only applies to the people who can afford it. You notice a small shrine tucked into a niche between 2 shops. It is covered in the soot of 1,000 cheap tallow candles. People pause for a second to touch the stone and mutter a name. They are not praying for the health of the Emperor Trajan. They are praying that their floor doesn't collapse before the sun comes up. This is the religion of the city, a desperate bargain with the gods of fire and gravity. Before you take another step, listen to the sound of the air. You hear the rhythmic hammering of 100 different blacksmiths and carpenters. This is the invisible system that keeps the city's infrastructure from dissolving. Rome is in a state of permanent, frantic repair. The marble you saw in the forum is being chipped away by the acidic air of the slums. The city is eating itself to stay alive, one stone at a time. You would notice that there are no clocks, only the changing quality of the light. Time in Rome is measured by the opening and closing of the public baths. These are the cathedrals of the Roman way of life. You enter the baths of Trajan and are immediately blinded by the steam. The walls are covered in mosaics that cost more than a small town in Gaul. What you're standing in right now is the world's most effective distraction. The baths are nearly free, and they are open to everyone from senators to slaves. You see a wealthy man being rubbed with olive oil by a team of 3 servants. A foot away, a beggar is scraping the dirt from his skin with a curved metal tool. In the water, their status is temporarily suspended. This is the only place where the different Romes actually touch one another. Standing here, you understand why the empire spends so much on these palaces. The baths are the bribe that prevents a revolution in the Subura. If the people are clean and warm, they are less likely to notice the crumbling walls of their homes. You watch a group of men discussing the latest news from the northern frontier. They speak with the confidence of people who believe they are the masters of the world. The second and third most surprising facts arrive when you look at the labor. For every person relaxing in the warm water, 10 are suffering in the dark below. Beneath the marble floors is a massive network of furnace rooms called hypocausts. Slaves work in 4-hour shifts in temperatures exceeding 140 degrees. They are the human fuel that keeps the water warm for the citizens above. You hear their muffled coughing through the stone floor beneath your feet. This is the hidden architecture of the Roman peak. It is a system of extreme verticality, where the pleasure of the top depends on the agony of the bottom. You realize that the steam in the air isn't just water. It is the sweat of 1,000 captives. The Roman miracle is a math problem that only works if you don't count the human cost. As you leave the baths, the scale of the city begins to feel oppressive. You move toward the Circus Maximus, a valley of stone designed for one thing: speed. 300,000 people can sit in this single arena at once. That is nearly a third of the entire population of the city. When the crowd roars, the sound can be heard 10 miles away in the countryside. Your first instinct would be to think this is just a sporting event. But the circus is the most important political space in the empire. It is the only place where the emperor must face his people directly. If the crowd is unhappy with the price of bread, they will chant it here. The Emperor Trajan listens to these chants more closely than he listens to his generals. You don't know this yet, but the grain clerk you saw earlier has just received his news. The ships from Egypt have been spotted off the coast at Ostia. The city will not starve this week, and the games will continue. You see the tension leave the shoulders of the soldiers standing guard at the gates. The machine has been reset for another 7 days. Before you take another step, look at the trash under the seats of the circus. You see broken betting slips, discarded fruit skins, and a lost bronze coin. This is the debris of a society that has forgotten how to produce. The people in the stands don't make anything. They consume what the empire provides. This parasitic relationship is the true danger to the Roman future. The most emotionally resonant detail is found in the shadows of the arena's arches. You see a group of children playing a game with knuckle bones. They are not looking at the chariots or the golden statues of the gods. They are playing in the dust, ignored by the thousands of people screaming above them. One of them is wearing a scrap of a discarded purple tunic, a parody of a senator's wealth. These children are the first generation that will see the empire stop expanding. You walk toward the river as the afternoon sun begins to turn the Tiber into liquid bronze. The docks at the Emporium are the busiest place on the planet. Cranes made of massive oak beams lift crates of Spanish wine and African ivory. You see a mountain of discarded ceramic jars that is taller than the surrounding buildings. This is Monte Testaccio, a hill made entirely of broken history. Every jar on this hill once held oil or wine that was consumed in the city. There are over 50 million of them stacked in neat, terrifying layers. This hill is the most honest monument in Rome. It is a record of a civilization that defined itself by how much it could throw away. You realize that the empire isn't just a territory. It is a giant mouth that never stops eating. Standing here, you understand something about the nature of power. It is not just about the legions you saw in the Forum. It is about the ability to command the resources of the world to a single point. But you also see the vulnerability of this system. If a single dock burns or a single harbor silts up, the mouth goes hungry. The invisible system that keeps this mouth fed is the harbor at Ostia. It is a man-made basin that requires constant dredging by thousands of laborers. If they stop for even a month, the harbor will turn back into a swamp. Rome is a city that is constantly fighting against the return of nature. Every stone and every harbor is a temporary victory over the inevitable. You move toward the Colosseum as the sun begins to dip below the horizon. The building is a mountain of travertine that seems to glow from within. This is the place where the empire demonstrates its total mastery over life and death. You hear the sound of heavy iron gates sliding open in the darkness beneath the floor. The scent of wild animals and old blood is so thick you can taste it on your tongue. You see a gladiator standing in the tunnel, waiting for his name to be called. He is a man from the Danube who has been trained to die for the amusement of people he hates. He is not a hero. He is a piece of disposable technology. He looks at the sand of the arena floor with a quiet, terrifying intensity. What made this dangerous wasn't the violence, but the apathy it created. The Romans have seen everything, and they are no longer moved by anything. They have seen the most exotic animals and the most skilled fighters destroyed in minutes. This boredom is the ultimate sign of a civilization that has run out of new ideas. They are trapped in a cycle of escalating spectacle to feel anything at all. You would notice that the night doesn't bring peace to Rome. As the sun sets, the Lex Julia takes effect, and the heavy wagons are allowed into the streets. The silence of the day is replaced by the thunder of iron wheels on basalt. The city vibrates with the movement of stones, timber, and food. You cannot hear your own thoughts over the shouting of the teamsters. A marble polisher is packing up his tools at the base of a new arch. He has spent 10 years of his life working on this single street. He believes that he is building something that will last for eternity. He has no way of knowing that in 400 years, his work will be used as a goat pen. He wipes the dust from his forehead and looks up at the moon. The decision in front of you is how to remember this moment. You have seen the golden temples and the steaming baths. You have also seen the slaves in the furnaces and the hill of broken jars. You realize that the peak of Rome is a very thin crust over a very deep abyss. The wealth is staggering, but the instability is total. Which failure weighs heaviest depends on what you believe was holding everything together. Is it the failure of the engineers to build homes that don't collapse? Is it the failure of the economy to produce anything but trash? Or is it the failure of the people to care about anything but the next game? The baker's apprentice you saw earlier is finally finishing his shift. He walks through the dark alleys, keeping his hand on his small bag of coins. He hears a loud crack from a building 2 streets over and doesn't even flinch. He is used to the sound of the city breaking. He reaches his room, lies down on a thin mat, and waits for the sun to come up. He does not know that the world he lives in is a beautiful terminal accident. He believes that the noise and the filth are just the price of being at the center of the world. He falls asleep as a fire starts in a small cookshop 3 floors below him. What disturbs you most says less about the year 117 than about your own time. You look at the miracle of Roman engineering and realize it is a mirror. We still build our cities on the backs of people we never see. We still use spectacle to hide the cracks in our own foundations. The ruins you see today are not a warning about what happens when we fail. They are a record of what it looks like when we succeed too much. These reconstructions continue, one city at a time.